What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage on the wrong side of your screen, and you are now tuned in to Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things happening in pop culture. And today, jokes.
Yo.
We're gonna talk about Warner Brothers Discovery putting themselves up for sale. This is the second time in like 3 weeks we've had a major company announce they were putting themselves up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a lot to talk about as far as that's concerned. Now, we're also going to talk about Dr. Doom and the MCU. I know you've been playing some Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give some of my thoughts on Ninja Gaiden 4 so far.
Cool.
On a new little something called Keeper from Double Fine Studios. We're going to talk about our time at Baltimore Comic-Con. So there's a lot to get to. But first, we have got to have a quick little talk about what's going on for the end of the month. So next week, our discussion for Corpse Bride, which is our movie of the month for this
Good
month,
evening.
will go live. And should go live at like 8. We have not recorded it yet. But I have all the faith in the world that we will get that done and make it live for everyone when the time comes. Jokes, I can't see the video clips under our video joint. Like everything is blank for me for some reason.
I can see it though.
Okay. So Jokes, we'll have you go ahead and get our 619 Hall of Fame knocked out, please.
Cool. Coming at you.
Yes, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, Alex Lee, Ellis Mbe, and Kermit Ferguson. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
And I could not see that.
Oh. It showed on my side, so hopefully you guys saw it as well too.
You know. Wayne Tech. Before we dig into the show, also have to let you all know that in just a few short weeks, we do have Extra Life coming up. That is November 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Mm-hmm.
We will be streaming for a minimum of 8 hours for each one of those days, playing a bunch of different video games. I can actually give you a rundown of the list if you would like, if it'll help. This is sort of subject to change. Sort of. But right now, we have Borderlands 4.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple different games in the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. We'll decide what we want to do from within that. We have Grand Theft Auto, which may or may not change. It would be the first time we haven't played Grand Theft at all for an Extra Life. But Jokes seems to really want us to play Fortnite. And so there's maybe going to be a need for us to swap something out. And I think if we're going to do something like that, it's probably going to have to be Grand Theft. Helldivers 2 is on the docket. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind is on the docket. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. Path of Exile 2, which just had a major update. Rainbow Six Siege X also just had a major update. Ready or Not, Sword Art Online, Fatal Bullet, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splintered Fate, and Tumblestone. Good old Tumblestone. As of right now, those are the games that are on the docket. 12 games, about 2 hours apiece over the course of 24 total hours and 3 days. This charity is one that we've just grown to love and participate in again over the last 10 years. This technically becomes year 10.
Yep.
Cuddy, ready for that? Hell divers, my man. And you know, it does us some really good to our hearts to be able to um, you know, give back to the community. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this charity being one for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Again, this is always a good time, and raising that money is always super important. You are right, Cuddy. We need to practice Ready or Not, or we don't, and we just need to be prepared
Just
to
have going.
fail. There. Well, again, it's gonna be November 7th through the 9th. So it is that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The We haven't really talked about it, but generally on Friday we tend to get started at like 11 or 12
Mm-hmm.
and go to about 8. And then we usually do the same thing for Saturday. Sunday, we usually get started a little bit earlier than that, maybe around
Mm-hmm.
10. So that, you know, we'll do like 10 to 6 on Sunday. Um, so we can get our minds right and get ready for going back to work on Monday, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's probably what it's going to be. The times for each individual game is still in the air, and some of the games that have been mentioned on here are specifically here because they are games that just we know would mean a lot to Sin, and so we're going to spend some time, probably about 4 hours, dedicated
Mm-hmm.
to just kind of playing things that were a big deal to him, or really important to him. And so we'll kind of carve out some time specifically for that. More than likely, that will be like midday Saturday. Might even start the day that way, and then break for lunch, and then come back and get into some other stuff. But that is what the plan is as of now. So we are looking to have some folks from outside of the normal crew join us, not necessarily directly in chat or directly in stream, but with their own streams, but playing for our team. And so we'll be sending out information for how you can maybe support them or watch them if you want to do that. Frosty does usually jump in at some point and do some stuff with us on stream, but she usually does her own stream.
Mm-hmm.
And people can go watch her on Twitch and donate there and that kind of thing. Zaina is usually the same way. She does her own. We have a friend who is a cosplayer who's a pretty big Twitch streamer too, named Anais, who has discussed jumping in and doing at least part of the stream or part of the time for the charity during that weekend. So yeah. So anyway, looking forward to it. It's going to be a really good time. The week following that, we have another StellarCon event in this area, as opposed to like the last one that was in Pennsylvania. This one is in the Catonsville, UMBC
Mm-hmm.
area. Again, more information on that to come. But just wanted to make sure that we kind of get that out in front of people and put a little reminder in the air, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, jokes.
Yes,
We
sir.
just came out of Baltimore Comic-Con.
We did.
I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You were there Saturday and Sunday. Kay joined us on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Baltimore Comic-Con is not new by any means for us. We have been doing it since technically before there was a loading snacks. We've been attending this convention. And there have been subtle changes, but overall, it more or less remains the same. Like if you've been to one, maybe you've been to them all, give or take who the guests are, and who's there. Generally, um, it's gotten so regular for us that like we know the layout and the map and like where people's tables are because they get the same spots every year, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Um, all that to say that it's like home. When we're there, it
Agreed.
changes less often than like we go to Awesome Con every year, but Awesome Con seems to like change their layout and move
And
people
everything.
around all the
Yeah.
time. Also, it's changed because it got sold and picked up by a new company, and so then they changed things and whatever. So, while Awesome Con is a home con and is closer being in DC as opposed to Baltimore, based on where we live, um, Baltimore. There's two things about Baltimore. One, just because of the just kind of the standards in place. People are, like I said, they're always in the same spots. It feels more like home. It's more recognizable. It's kind of easy to
Mm-hmm.
get to the people you want to go visit and that kind of thing. And then, secondly, unlike basically every other Comic Con we do, this is really the only Comic Con that still has a focus, like a true
Yes.
focus on comic books. And there are a lot of comic books there. So Jokes, your thoughts on the con this year before I kind of get into some of my finer and more detailed thoughts.
Kind of thing. Nah. Um, Baltimore, it was cool. Just like you said, like I love the focus that they still keep on the comic aspect of it because we go to all these other conventions and it's most it's more of a generalized pop culture type of thing that you go into, but Baltimore has that vibe where you can you come in, whether it's writers, artists, by all means there's artist alley at every convention that we go to, but it's just a little bit different when it is geared towards being, hey, listen,
Rob
trivia was
said,
dope.
I wish I had seen you guys more. Kudos to Jokes for holding down trivia. For almost holding down
Yeah.
trivia,
Hey,
Rob.
listen.
Don't give him that.
Hey, listen. Second place, like, listen. I was going for it. The fourth round was a little fluke, but other than that, yeah, no, it was solid. Um, but yeah, so just being able to see, different comics as you like, I feel like you say, we see some of the, it's a home con, we see a lot of the same faces, but there's a lot of different
It's,
influences
it's
from the
tradition. It's
comic world.
tradition now, Rob. Rob said we always get second place. LOL. So I guess that's just what we supposed to do. 3 years in a row. Um, we gotta break that. We gotta break that trend.
Break that.
We gotta take the cake. Even if we gotta go next year, if we have to go Friday and Saturday
Yeah, we're gonna
to
break
make
that.
sure that we
I
just
got gift cards I gotta burn, so we definitely gotta go next year.
how about that?
But yeah, overall, it was a great time. Um, we saw a lot of familiar faces. It was great to see. Our friend Harry Carlson brought back uh the cosplay shoot on the steps, which hasn't been done in some years. So it was pretty cool to be able to be outside, take shots of that. Um, we shot the cosplay, the showcase and the contest that they did, at least the adult side of things that we did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty cool. Trying to think of anything, super, nothing, I would say nothing super crazy that we did. We ran into a lot of faces. It was kind of like the convergence of different conventions, all like in different spots as we go through the con on there. So, we ran into JD, we ran into Kevin Hawk, and like all of us just, came together. It's like, it's always a good feeling. when that happens out there. But Baltimore is Baltimore. Like, I think with the focus staying on comics, it still keeps it unique. That's a little bit different from all the other ones that we typically go to in the area. Um,
Yeah.
but overall, great time either way.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say it was a really good time. That it's not, there really isn't anything unexpected. Like when
Hmm.
I go, I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm talking about like down to the people at the door checking badges as you're walking in.
That's the
You
same.
know, this is the
What's up,
same.
Heather?
What's up, Heather? Um, yeah, I mean, those things just kind of make it feel welcoming. The big difference this year that was different from most recent years was there being no Comic Logic booth. Um, that was a little weird, but um, I also I cannot stress enough. Um, Even compared to other conventions we do or have done, I can't stress enough how different this convention did feel this time around without Sin being there.
Yeah.
Um, again, like we know we're gonna go through this cycle of
Hmm.
going to conventions that we always go to and seeing people that we haven't seen in a long time and whatever. But we're gonna consistently continue to go through this thing where we see people we haven't seen yet since Sin
Hmm.
passed away, or people who maybe don't even realize, or just haven't had a chance to kind of like commune with us,
Yeah.
outside of like the messages they sent, or the well wishes and that kind of thing. And I'll say like Friday was probably the hardest day for me for two reasons. One, because it's the first time doing it, and truthfully, you have to remember that as a team, when Loading Snack started, it was just me and Sin, and then Kay was shooting video, and so um to be there and to like not to be there by myself on Friday, it was like, even if under normal circumstances now, Jokes, you couldn't be there or Kay wouldn't be
Hmm.
there, usually at least Sin would be there. And people seeing me there and seeing me by myself,
It was.
people
It
kind of
was.
like, what, what's going on, even just the ride there, it felt like I was preparing. I needed to kind of prepare myself for, walking into it and not knowing what was
Hmm.
going to happen. And before I could even get in the building, I was running into people who haven't had a chance to, like, literally before I could get in the building to get my badge. Like, I haven't even collected my badge yet, right? And I run into like Shay, and then I run
Hmm.
into Torma, but at the same time, I'm running into great people who are family, who just, it's all love and it's hugs and it's, all that kind of stuff. This year was really dope though. Having an opportunity to like share Shay's birthday with her
Yeah.
at Hard Rock was really cool. Again, Harry and the team there offering to do a moment of silence for Sin on the steps, having brought that back again was really cool. And but there were people who weren't there who are normally there. Didn't see Tuskegee Airs,
Hmm.
Marcus and Greg, they weren't there. Um, Looks like I lost you, Jokes,
You lost me.
man. Um,
I think Wayne Tech kind of started to get his way. Let's see.
yeah,
Check, check, 1, 2.
yeah.
Cool.
Um, yeah. Look, there were people who are normally there that weren't there. tables that weren't there. So it's it was very different.
Mm-hmm.
Something. But overall, really good time. I had a really good weekend. Um, I didn't buy anything, which I don't know how that happened. But no art, no tchotchkes. I did get some things though.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't buy anything,
I
which
bought
is
tea. It's the only thing I got there.
trash. But trash.
No, it's not.
Anyway, overall, generally a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm already looking forward to going back next year.
100%.
Now, let's let's change directions for a moment. Jokes. Um, we need to talk about the MCU for a minute. Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before. Why it's
Yep.
happening when they first did the announce, what we think, it could really mean. We've gone into the whole thing of like the what if, where they switch minds and all that kind of stuff, and different things they could do. Um, but let me just ask you, why do you think Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom?
So for me, it was, when they announced him,
Mm-hmm.
as much as they said that, Tony Stark is gone, he's not going to come back or whatever. I was like, a part of it feels is like, hey, let us figure out how we can bring back Tony Stark without necessarily doing it in the regular capacity on just having Tony Stark on screen. I feel like they wanted to do this for just the sheer effect of people being able to see this dude that looks like Tony Stark, and it's just going to create this extra level of chaos. So I'm going to use Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Like, let's say, of course, Doctor Doom shows up in the MCU. I feel like certain, people are going to see Tony Stark just show up and, think everything is all happy, things are right. And it's just going to be, we got this friendly face here that's causing a ton of chaos.
I think you need to be a little more clear about
Mm.
what exactly you're saying. You are throwing names out there, but you are not completing this scenario. Are you saying that the need to bring back Tony Stark, you're not talking about the audience seeing Tony Stark, seeing Robert Downey Jr. You're talking about the characters
A little bit
seeing.
of both. Honestly, a little bit of both. Um, for story purposes, bringing him in, whether it's, this is this doppelganger from, another universe, whatever, it looks exactly like Tony. Because now at this point now, we've seen where same characters can be played by other people. So Reed Richards at this point has had 3 versions now
We don't
that
care.
have been,
Continue.
yeah, but you get what I'm saying, played by multiple people. So
Okay.
this is kind of a different way on how they can get us to re-mention Tony Stark in a different light. So everybody's going to see this dude, and it's within the confines of the MCU. Is everybody's thinking that Tony Stark is back for whatever reason? For fans, you're pulling
So
in, you're
are
bringing.
you thinking that they are going, like, he's going to show up and say he's Tony Stark,
I
and
don't think he's
he's going to
necessarily
be
going to show up.
pretending to be?
I don't think he's necessarily going to show up and say that he's Tony Stark. I think he's just going to show up at some major place, and everyone's going to see him and be like, "Oh my God, Tony Stark is alive!" And then whether it end up being, destroying wherever he's at, and then it's like, "Yo, Tony Stark is back," and this dude just destroyed the Empire State, but I don't know, something major along the lines that now brings the light back to where, different characters will come out. Like, there's no way Tony Stark can be back. Like, we buried him. We did all of that. This is something else. But I feel like some of the heroes and some people are not going to realize that initially, and then whether it is that they end up getting killed, they end up getting taken out in some shape or form. I feel like this is to be like that camouflage almost for within the confines of the movies, but then also for people to be able to see Robert Downey Jr. back on screen once again in the capacity.
So your thought process on why Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom is for the sake of people thinking it's Tony Stark. Like within the actual MCU, the characters in the MCU see someone that looks like he's Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm. And he may not even know initially that, Tony Stark in this universe looks exactly like him. And then maybe somehow, he'll try to play into it. Depending on how he comes in to the MCU, like, especially if he's going to be already on a mission to accomplish.
My first question to you was, why do you think they've decided it's necessary for Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom? Because you could still have anybody play Doctor Doom.
Yeah, you can have anybody play Doom.
But my second question to you is, how will they make it make sense that this person looks just like Tony Stark, right?
I feel like it's just going to be it's going to be, I know we're getting close to the end of the whole multiverse thing, but honestly, I think it's just going to be another one of those, just throw in the multiverse. This dude is from a different universe, but unfortunately, he looks like Tony Stark, but he's actually not Tony Stark.
So, God, he said you just swinging and missing.
I'm gonna go for it
all the time. So the new theories is that I've seen circulating are that in another universe, right? Since Loki, let me say this. This is for people who are caught up. If you haven't seen everything and you don't know all of what's going on, I can't help you right now. There will be spoilers. Since the end of Loki season 2, where Loki becomes the god of stories and essentially creates the branched tree with all of the different universes. Heather says either RDJ Doom is an MCU Hail Mary or this was always the plan.
I definitely don't think it was always the plan.
I actually think it was always the plan.
You do?
The Russos have been talking about RDJ playing Doctor Doom since like the first Iron Man. Hey, Snackettes. What's up, Lisa? Here's the thing. The theory is that they never discuss it in the MCU, but in the comics, Tony Stark is adopted. That his parents are not his biological parents. And there is a moment in when the Avengers go back in time and Tony and Cap go back to try to get the Tesseract, and Tony talks to his father. His father says that his wife is pregnant. And he kind of makes a face. And it makes me wonder whether or not Tony actually knew he was adopted. Because he seems like it's a little strange that his mom is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be just depending based on the time and that she was pregnant with him, but it's could also be this a little bit off. I won't get into all the semantics of that portion of it because it's not really important to trying to get to what the theory is. But the theory is more or less that he's adopted, and when he dies, with Loki now in control of all these other universes, that within other universes, the adopted child is the child that would have been Victor Von Doom.
Mm-hmm.
And that the place that Victor Von Doom rules as Doctor Doom is Latveria, but there is no Latveria in the MCU, at least currently. There hasn't been one in the MCU because we didn't have one. But we did have technically a stand-in for Latveria. And so the idea is that when this Tony died, because Doctor Doom is also a sorcerer, it awakened the knowledge in him that there was this other place. Like there was this other thing going on, and that he could reach out and end up going there because of it. And that it would make sense because technically it's actually the same person. That the Tony Stark that we knew and loved in the MCU technically was always Victor Von Doom, or would have been Victor Von Doom, but his father adopted him and brought him over and changed his name. And he would have ended up being Doctor Doom anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a smart theory, though it feels super convoluted.
No, agreed.
And the struggle I have with it is how they convey that complex of a theory in the amount of time that they have in these two movies, in like Doomsday. You go from Doomsday into basically in a Battleworld, and so there isn't a lot of time to technically, I think, make that happen. But I'm a fan of the theory that Tony Stark was always Victor Von Doom in the MCU timeline we've come to know, and that he was adopted and taken from Sokovia.
Mm-hmm.
And that Sokovia never became Latveria because
he was adopted.
He would have become the person that would have changed Sokovia into Latveria and become the sovereign, reigning person in Latveria. But because whatever happened, if she was pregnant with the baby and lost the baby, if something happened and the baby, I don't know, wasn't okay or whatever, and Tony's father being, having a lot of hubris and not wanting to have a child that wasn't A, B, and C, just, went, got another baby, adopted him, brought him over, and was like, here's our baby. Like, there are people who are saying, like, they think it's possible that, like, Tony's mother wouldn't even know that Howard would have had the money to make something like that happen, pull off a switch at the hospital or in the hospital or whatever before she would even known, and would have just had her, and they would have just raised the baby, and the only person who would have known that it wasn't their biological child technically would have been Howard. It's a really interesting theory.
It is. I think as much as that, I think that could, if there was more, maybe like one other something in between that could probably flush it out anymore. It almost just seems like that would be like they would tell the backstory in the movie. It would be like a 3-minute type of thing, and then it just goes away. I just feel like the time to try to to make it make more sense. They can easily slide something in the slate, but I highly doubt they're going to even add. They're not going to add anything else to do this.
No. What I think is that there is potential to draw out some of the other pieces of the story in some of the other stories that are already slated to exist, like Spider-Man and stuff like that. Heather said it's not any more convoluted than the plot of This Is Us, which you're not wrong, but the amount of time in which you have to tell that convoluted story makes it more convoluted, right? It just you really have to be able to, like, This Is Us happens over way more hours in the long run than the maybe 2.5 hours that you get for what is likely to be the runtime of Avengers Doomsday, right? So, while you're right, it's not more convoluted. Here's the thing. I think that there is a lot of precedence for this in the comics. There's a lot of it. So there are a lot of ways that they could kind of pull from it or use just pieces of it, you know what I mean, to make it make sense. And there are things that have happened in the MCU that they could look. We're doing Wiccan and Speed, and they're children that don't really exist. Like, they're not real, but they're real.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, Wanda has this ability to do things with reality and all that kind of stuff. Remember, we talked about how in the comics and the TVA comics, they have, which technically are MCU canon currently, Wanda Maximoff is in the basement of the TVA and is doing things that are having an effect on reality from within the TVA, which is outside of time. There's any number of things they can do that could affect, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. They are still, you know, they showed the trailer for Vision Quest during New York. We know that we're going to get Speed in that, which means that with him officially in, you have all the members you need for the Champions show, which basically would be all the Young Avengers.
Young Avengers.
I don't know what you do with a show like that. You know, that show has to happen and take place before Battleworld. Like, it has to, because they exist within the MCU as the MCU exists. So could they do Battleworld first and be like, yep, we're chopping all these other folks out and then kind of narrowing it down and bringing these new people in? Yes, they could. But we'll have to see. I mean, we still have tons of stuff to do dealing with mutants and bringing them together. And clearly the thing that should be on the horizon is Avengers versus X-Men at some point. And I don't know how you do that, because we don't have any Avengers left. We don't have any Avengers that matter. Like, we don't have
I was gonna say, we technically have two sets of Avengers, but
do we?
Well, let me say, we have one set of Avengers and Sam Wilson attempting to put together a set of Avengers.
Let me tell you what we have, because we don't really have any Avengers. Let me make that very clear. Because I'm only saying that because I don't know, bro. I don't even know. Let's run down the roster of the MCU Avengers, like the original MCU Avengers. Who do we have? Right, we have Cap,
Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Thor,
Hulk. That's our team, right?
That's our core.
All right, now let's think this through. Who has powers? Hulk.
Everyone except
Thor. Hulk and Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Yeah. Does Iron Man count with the suit?
No. No. I'm just saying, like, if I guess let's say
does
Iron
Cap
Man
count with the super soldier serum?
Nah, Cap counts.
Cap, okay.
Hulk, Thor, Cap.
Cap.
Right? Those are our major three. Who's in the new Avengers currently? Right? The Thunderbolts. That is close to a Thor. Right.
No.
The closest thing we have to a Cap would be Winter Soldier.
Between Red Guardian and Winter Soldier. I mean, Guardian got a little strength.
Red Guardian. I'm just saying, like, they don't have a Hulk, but Hulk still exists, so Hulk could be a part of it. But the Hulk we have ain't the Hulk we have.
That is not the Hulk we need.
No. No, it is not. I guess what I'm really trying to say is, Jokes, I don't think we have a set of
Century
Avengers.
could be.
That's not a bad that's not bad, Rob. Century could be. Pops is asking, where is Captain Marvel? I'll let you take care of that, Jokes.
Okay.
In space? Somewhere?
Yeah, like
I'm sure she's coming back. And you're right, Rob. Century could wipe them all. Oh no. We lost Jokes. Wow, Jokes. Yeah, what? Century could wipe them all, but outside of Century, like, they can't beat the X-Men.
Nah, not that current iteration that we have right. No, no.
But we don't know, and so look, and so now let's go through what the remaining roster for the MCU might be. So, like, if we have the Thunderbolt / New Avengers, right? Who is left for our current Captain America for Wilson to pull in for his Avengers? Shang-Chi.
I dare say any of the Defenders. Like,
shut
but
your mouth.
Hey, listen.
Shut
in the confines,
mouth.
They're there. He can take Daredevil, but they ain't gonna be the level that they need. They need them to be.
Man,
I mean, Thor, if he comes back, like, to Earth, like, I know he's off world technically right now.
He has Spider-Man, Thor and Thor's daughter, Doctor Strange and Wong. Rob says. I give that. I don't know though what they're doing with Doctor Strange, because at the end of that last movie, he was like supposed to be going off with Clea somewhere, but there's at least Wong. But I feel like Doctor Strange still has to be important.
Bring in Moon Knight.
Moon Knight should be in there somewhere. But does Sam Wilson get Moon Knight?
I feel like Sam Wilson. I don't know how. Like, that's gonna be a weird. Like, I don't know. Like, something's gonna have to pull him in where he needs the help. But I don't know. That was a weird one. I guess technically Ant-Man. They got that weird, their weird relationship that Ant-Man could come in.
What role do you realistically think the Young Avengers would play? Like, of all of the members that exist right now, Kate Bishop has had some action, but no like major action, I would say.
Hey, listen, the Eternals have been just purged. Like, they've been written off screen, I feel like. So I don't think we're going to see any of the Eternals.
Nah, we're going to see at least 2 of them. In some capacity, we will see them. But they're not going to be... Get out of here. Nah, look. The Eternals were our Justice League.
Yeah, done correctly, kind of.
And... If we're talking about getting to a place where the Avengers can face off against the X-Men, what I'm trying to do is figure out who, bro, who. Now, that notwithstanding, the idea of some members of the Avengers getting the Phoenix Force,
I don't think we're gonna get that.
We definitely not getting that Moon Knight Blade combo. That joint was fire. But I don't know. I mean, it's canon, technically. So in some manner, we'll probably get. I have seen rumors that Avengers Doomsday does have animated sequences in it.
Oh,
and that could be crazy.
smooth. I like the sound of that.
I do too, but it still might be a bit much. I'm not going to pretend it's not. Look, what I'm saying is, as we're setting up, honestly, you kind of have to be setting up for the X-Men to step back into their rightful place as the characters we should have been following in the MCU from day one, because the Avengers are C tier, truthfully, and at least they were at the time that they became popular again via movies. The Phoenix Force, in the hands of some Avengers, could certainly change some things.
Tip the balance.
But again, I'm in the place where I don't want any of the old. I don't want to see anybody from the original X-Men crew. I don't really want the X-Men at all. Mutants, sure. X-Men, no. I'll take any other form of X-Team, folks with mutants, pretty much. I'll take Excalibur. I'll take X-Factor. I'll take X-Force. I don't really want to see X-Men again. I don't want another Storm. We don't need another Wolverine. Like, I've had enough.
You're good. Yeah, no, I feel you on that.
I'm really, really good. Now, do I think there's space for it though? I mean, not that Hugh Jackman hasn't run Wolverine into the ground, and it's not his fault. But like, outside of seeing them kind of reprise their roles for nostalgic reasons in some way, seeing Beast and seeing Colossus, and like, it could be cool. The only one I care about them is Iceman. That's it. Everybody else can kick rocks. For real. There are so many mutants. There are so many characters with so many stories that can be told that I don't really want any of them. So
Thor,
Rob is saying Thor, Sentry, Shuri, Hulk, Strange, Wong, Daredevil, Shang-Chi, a redeemed Wanda, and a White Vision could be a good team to take on the X-Men. I agree. Will they back Sam Wilson? Let's get Dazzler on the roster. Dazzler is not positive Dazzler can beat Jubilee. So I'm not gonna, not that I don't like Dazzler, but I'm not so sure she could beat Jubes.
Young Avengers uncovered the mystery.
Young Avengers uncovered the mystery of the two bad guy caused them to fight. Absolutely could certainly be some truth to that. I can see that happening in the Champions show.
Yeah, almost thinking like they can be like, let's say, of course, we have these two factions of Avengers, and maybe they're, like you kind of said, they're going to be the ones to, while they're having whatever issues with one another, if that ends up playing a role, they start to solve the issue and figuring things out until they got to figure out how to get, for all they, like, at this point, it's East Coast Avengers and West Coast Avengers to figure out how to bring them together.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I mean, I think to some extent that's where they're leaning, is in East Coast and West Coast Avengers, which again would be White Vision and Wanda, and you know what I mean. Like that would make sense. Rob is saying everyone teams up against a big bad in the end. I think the big bad is obviously Dr. Doom. I think that there's a lot of potential for Reed Richards to be a big bad in some way.
Because that's what I was thinking.
The Fantastic Four already, and they're going to have to play some sort of a prime role in what it is. Rob says, but honestly, I don't care what happens as long as it's entertaining and enjoyable. To
a certain point, yeah. Like, I still, like, this is crazy to say. I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, Doom's going to cause chaos. He's got a whole movie to him, but I feel like he's not the end all to be all.
No, he's the beginning of it all.
Yeah. So
but who like, here's the thing. If having seen Fantastic Four, Galactus still poses a threat. So having Doom kind of as a background threat, but feel like the forefront, like he's the thing in front of us that's causing A, B, or C.
Yeah.
the need for there to be a battle world so that you can kind of chop things down and say, all right, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
So and so Wolverine, you're in. You know what I mean? Like, we kind of have to kill Halle Berry. Cool. You know what I'm saying? But we gotta kill all of them. You know
Yeah,
what I
this is
mean?
that Battleworld's the perfect reset, especially like if they try to play like,
Where does Namor end up siding?
ooh,
Because technically, right now, I mean,
whichever side Shuri ends up being on,
you think he sides with Shuri? Well, then
I
that's
think I think they have a little bit more of a mutual respect after Black Panther 2. So I feel
it
like,
sounded to me like his loyalties lied to his wife,
mhm,
and he was like, "I'm gonna do what I gotta do for us to
yeah,
be us." Like, I don't. But let me tell you something. Namor as a zombie was bananas, bro. That if you haven't watched Marvel Zombies, take 2 hours and go knock it out. Slim is a threat. For real, all the Atlanteans were a threat. But that, come on, man. All right, so here's the thing. I don't think Shuri, we've discussed this, but I don't think Shuri is Black Panther by the time the next thing comes around
I don't
anyway.
think so.
I think it's
I've
Nakia.
been,
I think Nakia takes on the mantle
yeah,
of Black Panther, and I think Shuri takes on the role of being the
being
ruler of Wakanda.
queen or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the perfect play.
Yeah, Frosty. You got to get on that. I'm telling you, Marvel Zombies it's really good. A lot of unexpected twists. It's really good. Look, we'll have to see. Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think, is going to branch a lot of things we weren't expecting. I think that
Agreed.
they may use that to give us some answers about where and what Doctor Strange is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like we have some slight confirmations over the last week that we have our Gwen Stacy, which kind of makes sense. But also, I mean, look, we need a Miles and
Mm-hmm.
we need a Gwen. And we cannot understate how important they will be to live action going forward,
Mm-hmm.
just based on the sheer popularity that they have now. Like, it is what it is. So, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. Again, I think the theory is I think it's a cool theory. I could see it being, and I do think that they could just, even if it's not exactly that, them playing up the fact that Tony, was adopted. But again, we still got Pepper and Tony's daughter like around somewhere. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Um,
Whether she's been doing rescue out there, in the meantime doing stuff, or
we still have Harley, like the little boy who showed up at his funeral, and nobody knew who he was because he was so much
we had
older.
figured, yeah.
And we don't have our quote unquote Iron Lad yet, which is supposed to be Kang, which is like there's a whole thing with that isn't there. That would really be the one missing piece of Young Avengers that we don't have is an Iron Lad. So it's a little difficult to say, how that ends up playing out. But we'll have to see. They have a lot of options. I think that's the thing that's the most
Yeah.
fun about it right now.
Yeah.
They have so many options for what they could do. So I'm super interested in seeing where that goes. Now, on that note, we got to talk about where this next thing is going because, again, today, WB Discovery announced that it is up for sale, putting itself up for sale. I roll my eyes at this jokes only because, listen, there are parts of me that feel like it's, the idea of this major consolidation where so many IPs end up under the ownership of like one company is kind of crazy. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but it could. And while normally I feel like that's a bad thing and it shouldn't be that way and whatever, at the same time, there is a part of me that because of the way things have gone, so many streaming services, and you got to pay this person and this person and this person. You got to pay these people if you want to be able to see this. You have to pay these people if you want to be able to see this. You have to pay these people if you want to, you know what I mean? It's all over the place. That it's starting to feel like consolidating things so they're under one faction would make it easier for people to be able to consume what they want.
And consume, yep.
To some extent. But obviously then you run into the issue where, well, if they have everything, they can charge whatever because you can't. So, getting that piece of it out of the way. It's already been a thing that like Warner Brothers and Discovery's post-merger have most recently been talking about splitting again. Separating the two. And there were rumors that like Skydance was interested in doing a possible purchase of the whole thing. What they said today when they announced that they were up for sale was that they have been receiving unsolicited offers for a buyout from multiple companies. Almost everybody that I've heard in terms of who could be on that list of people that are potential is, you know, obviously there's the majors like a Disney, there's Netflix, there's Amazon, there's the possibility that any one of those could be, and they probably have, you know, might as well shoot your shot, right? DC, Warner Brothers, Discovery has a ridiculous amount of debt. And there is the possibility, though, that it could be a private equity group that is interested in doing a purchase, just like we saw with the buyout for EA that EA agreed to, where if it goes to something like the Saudi, the PIF, what we didn't really discuss when we talked about that was that those kind of purchases are generally done more or less for the destruction of the company, right? Like you make the purchase, you rebuy, stock goes up, the people who own stock get a payout, the people who still work for the company get a bit of a payout. And then generally what happens is, unless you have a really good plan put together for how you're going to take those IPs and turn them into something lucrative for you, the only way to really make it lucrative is to burn those assets. So you got to sell them off or something like that, right? So like you could see, say with EA, that they get ownership, and the moment they get it, they immediately
start selling each one.
Sell Madden to 2K, right? And sell, you know, FIFA or UC to somebody else, and sell, you know, the Sims to somebody else, right? Like it could go that way. Right now, what they're saying is they're looking at the possibility of a total buyout, but that there are people who are going to offer, or there's a possibility they might sell off just individual things that they own, right? So let's talk about what that means. Warner Brothers Discovery is DC and all their properties. It's CNN. It's HBO. We're talking Harry Potter. We're talking Lord of the Rings. Like these are all IP that they own that now would be possibly on the chopping block or going to someone else. When you talk about something like WB, you're also talking about WB Games. So we're talking Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm Studios, which again, we've had discussions about that being a possibility in the past before. But that, you know, with certain pieces of it, it's like it's not really worth it for you to buy certain pieces if you don't get ownership of the IP that come along. you know, something like that or certain pieces like that. So, um, realistically, what is your best guess, best estimate at what happens? Zayna says, yo, sorry I'm late. All's forgiven, we suppose. What is your best estimate for like what happens with Warner Brothers? As a matter of fact, what do you want to see happen? Let's do that.
I personally wouldn't be upset if one of the big companies is able to acquire Warner Brothers to do stuff with. Like let's say Amazon. I think Amazon probably is. Don't get me wrong, you're up against a Disney, but I think that's probably. I feel like it's the biggest one they could probably take on everything. Amazon and Disney could take on everything, be able to work through some of that debt, and it almost be kind of like a drop in the hat just because of the other avenues that they have that they can absorb that type of stuff for it. Um, if they do so, I would like to see some of the properties being able to being sold off to others could be an interesting thing to probably like let's say DC. Like DC being able to maybe be sold off to somebody to kind of I don't want to say start fresh, but to do something to kind of give them a reboot almost to get them going. I'm not necessarily against one way or the other, but my only concern is that if we were to split up IPs and have them go different places. Right now, every single one of the streaming platforms have been raising their prices and doing all this to the point where I'm like, I don't want these things to be under so many different banners. Like, I kind of want somebody like an Amazon to be able to just take everybody on underneath and just whether it's maybe licensing would be the better way to do it versus completely giving it up. But seeing how like Marvel's thrown all these licenses out there and it's taking them decades on decades to be able to get some of those licenses back so they could actually do stuff with characters and all. Um, I think I would just want to see it go under one banner, and hopefully that banner, whoever it is, decides to utilize the IPs versus, getting them and then just, hey, you know what? Let's shelve, like, I know this is going to happen. Let's shelve DC. Let's just put DC on the shelf and we'll come back to them like 5 years later or something like that. I don't think they would do that with
That
them.
idea to me.
No, absolutely. But I'm sure there's some other ones underneath that you could probably, throw up on the shelf. You know what? Let's just let that sit. We'll figure out. Well, let's take these bigger brands that we know that we can earn money off of a DC, whether it be, right now James Gunn is trying to do something with the DCU to kind of get that in a better place. If that doesn't pan out, we're gonna have to scrap that and start all over again. It wouldn't surprise me if they did that in picking it up and just like, you know what, James, cool what you did, but that is out the window, and then just start over again. Um, Outside of that, that's really my only thought. Is just I'd rather just go under one banner versus trying to sell it off, and then it ends up in like 10 different companies' hands, and then it's like, well, if you want DC, come over here. If you want Harry Potter, come over here. Like
I mean, that's already
it's
happening.
yeah.
So like that doesn't. I don't. I look. I don't think I want that. I I
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be firmly against the idea of like Amazon just being like, we'll just scoop up the whole thing. I mean, they did that with MGM,
Mm-hmm.
right? They got MGM and got all the bond and all that stuff that was under there. But I don't know that I would want that. I feel like I feel like the Warner Brothers side of it slash DC side of it, they probably have the most profitable IPs available. Nobody really
Mm-hmm.
cares about anything under that banner except for Batman. Like I think most companies that would be looking at them and looking at their IP, it's gonna be DC is not worth a lot outside of Batman to probably most of the major companies that would be looking to spend possibly somewhere in the billions of dollars to gain the IP and gain control of it. Harry Potter, on the other hand, Harry Potter's garnered somewhere in the $8 billion range by itself. Lord of the Rings is a tried and true IP, but I personally believe you would really have to work to turn that into something truly profitable. Like they had the Rings of Power. You know, we more or less just got done redoing like the movies, getting through The Hobbit, doing those three and having, so unless there's something else in that world that you can turn into something that you can really make profitable, and I mean like large money profitable. I'm not talking about underground, like having like a video game come out or having like a tabletop thing or I don't know, Magic cards that are, you know, Lord of the Rings. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like if you're a company that's going to spend that kind of money to gain control of the IP, you're immediately looking at what you can do with it to make something happen. And truthfully, they'll probably try to sell it off or get rid of it altogether. And it's not worth it, right? You would liquidate those assets because if they were really, it's not that there aren't cash cows in there. It's what's done with the properties and how you can actually do something with them that will turn a profit. Warner Brothers has been, for instance, just making stuff for the sake of dealing with the tax write-offs and just getting rid of it, shelving things and all that kind of stuff, right? But, you know, Wonder Woman as an IP, not making you hundreds of millions or, you know, whatever. Superman, there's potential because of what is new. Batman, again, literally their strongest IP, period. Everybody else is like probably cannon fodder. And what do you do with the print side of it? Right? Like, what do you do? It's I don't know that you can truthfully make that work if you're a company like. Now, the one upside of it is I think there's a lot of potential specifically in Amazon taking ownership over DC. If Amazon takes DC, the brilliance of that is that Amazon has been selling books since their inception. That is what their business was based on in the first place. They own Comixology, right? They do the digital thing already. So if they were to take control over DC, then from that standpoint, Rob said it sounds like a nightmare for me. It would be. It absolutely would be. But it's probably the reality of where it is because that sale is likely to happen because otherwise Warner Brothers is going to end up shutting down anyway. They're just so far in debt that they either have to sell off the properties and the IPs to make up the debt, which right now nobody wants to pay for licensing because it doesn't make them enough money for it to be worth. Saying it's a DC Comics on Kindle Unlimited. Whoa. I mean, again, there already is like a DC Unlimited. Like there already are ways to do that, right? And again, for somebody like Rob who owns a shop where the physical portion of the books is a thing, having Amazon have control over that could certainly be terrible for that business. Like, look, Rob said it. F Tim and F that, right? But truthfully, who else is prepped to do it? If Netflix was to buy WB, they can't do print. Like they're just not, they're not in that game. They don't. They're not even in a position to try to make something like that happen. Which means that we just lose it all altogether anyway. And there are very few, in my opinion, names under the DC banner that you can make profitable without the books in existence. Batman is established, Wonder Woman is established, and Superman is established. You can get away with some others that are in the Justice League, but outside of that,
you're kind of at a standstill.
Turn any of those properties into something that truthfully could be worth the money you would spend to spin up a show, write it, hire actors, shoot it, and put it out. Even if you're putting it on Amazon Prime for people to consume, what's your return on that investment? Probably not likely to be very high. So of all the players that are in the space, I actually have to say that I think Amazon would be the best equipped to recognize the need for those books and so forth, print or otherwise, to be in existence so that they can make money off of the rest of the IPs. I don't think that they could just sell
stuff
that's already been made. Love to see you too, Sam. Zayna says, I mean, one of DC's most recognizable characters didn't even come from the book. She came from the show. I mean, you're right. But then she went to the books. Like if you're talking about like a Harley Quinn, right? So you're right. And her popularity
skyrocketed
on the show made them put her in the books. And that allowed her to last long enough that they could put her in movies. And even though she was in a terrible movie, which was that first Suicide Squad, when I say terrible, I don't mean actually terrible, but I mean terrible for Will Smith. You know what I mean? And then you spin it off into a bunch of other things that like we still don't know what they're doing with. So this all goes back so far. This stems from AT&T buying them and having control over Warner Brothers and literally not knowing what to do with it, and then be trying to sell it off, and then them trying to sell it off and not being able to do it, right? Because nobody else knows what to do with it.
Yeah.
So outside of them, right? Marvel, I don't personally look. Disney has the money to make an offer to purchase DC. But that would be crazy.
That would be crazy. We can have Marvel and DC under the same banner.
I would hate every minute of it.
Oh, that it could create. It could create some like how we have like the crossover comics. It would be cool to see some of that in live action. But
no,
I don't think I want that, because I feel like that's going to be like the start of something bad when we do it that way.
No, that's not happening. I mean, again, because Disney has Marvel and has for years, and there is still success in the books, then as a company, maybe if they had it, they could do something with.
I haven't read it yet.
As far as concerned. No, I didn't read the first Batman Deadpool comic.
All I know is Deadpool probably gonna annoy all hell out of Batman.
That's a good job. Yeah, I don't know, man. What happens to a company like NetherRealm, or I mean, look, they have a couple of other video game companies that are under WB's belt. What happens to them? They probably get shuttered. They probably get shut down, and it's a wrap. NetherRealm would probably get picked up by somebody outside of whoever it is, but Amazon, who's done the game thing, and their game thing is still, what's the name of that joint? Luna? That's still a thing, whether you realize it or not. Rob said the joint universe Zdarsky created for his short story could be the joint universe. It was amazing. I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess that if they allow them to live separately, because the last thing I need is another Crisis on Infinite Battle Worlds where they're like, we're gonna pull these characters into one world and have that together, and then the rest of these joints still exist on their own. Like, I just feel like they would feel like they need to do something corny like that. And for real, I just feel like if you buy it, you can let it rock like it's rocking. Just let it rock. Just leave it alone. Rob says a reimagining of the Marvel and DC universes with a shared history. Wonder Woman was one of the people who discovered Cap in the Ice. So good. Hey, listen, I'm not saying there isn't space for it to exist, but I think the universes need to remain separate. I think that could be its own maybe third universe, if you will. And they got enough universes. That's what makes it so convoluted and gets so complicated, and that's why we have to have a Battleworld and Christ on Infinite Earth and get rid of
some people are just not gonna make it.
You got so many characters who are the same thing or whatever. They fought in WW2 together. Again, I'm with it. And Wonder Woman would beat the brakes off of Cap. So I'm with it. And maybe it would finally be good for Wonder Woman because I don't want to do this again. So let me not get into the issues around Wonder Woman and what her IP is and not being able to turn that into good TV anymore, good movies anymore.
Just be story. Because that's how everything's been programmed now.
Why do they have to be universes? Why can't they just be stories? They can just be stories. And that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying that they can do like the one-off combinations when they want to, but I think the universes mostly need to remain separate. I think the problem with something like that is, unfortunately, for someone like you who lives in comic books and understands where these characters lie and what is going on with them and like all of their backstories and information and what's quote unquote canon and what isn't canon, that's one thing. But these companies want to be able to monetize in a much bigger way and introduce these things to audiences that don't and won't ever get into it the way you're into it or even the way I'm into it. And so what that does is it confuses the landscape more than anything else. Now, for all of the people, if that was to happen, if Disney was to buy DC, then for all the people who make me feel like nails on a chalkboard when they think that Superman and Spider-Man are in the same universe, right? It would be beautiful for them because it would all just maybe make sense for them. Frosty said one season animated series. A one season animated series of what? All the Marvel and not series, one show. One season of an animated show of what? Marvel and DC crossover? I mean, again, Rob says, I do get it, but I think the approachability of Spider-Verse could be a strong counter to the argument. I disagree. And I'm going to tell you why. As much as I love the Spider-Verse, my dad said Superman was Marvel, and I had to pause. Like, what'd you say? Yeah, exactly. It makes you the nails on the chalkboard. Look, Rob, Spider-Verse works within the confines of just the Spider-Verse. It's well explained, and it's just them. And it really just exists for that character. Like, it's in just that space. But even within the comic book space, the kind of confusion that exists around what's canon, what's not, what happened when, is again the reason why we end up having to have things like a Crisis on Infinite Earths to clean it all up and start over. How many times has DC rebooted their universe in the last 20 years? Right? And Marvel is more or less the same way, right? Like, we've done Secret Wars twice. Why? Right? Battleworld twice. Why? Like, because it gets so convoluted and there's so much going on that the IP itself becomes confusing. And what that does is it ends up being bad for the consumer. Because even in a comic book world, while those things do sell books, you need to get the full story. You need all of these books, and then you need all of these side stories that
To
will
get that
complete the story
full.
for you. It works for selling issues, right? In that space, it doesn't work for episodes of a show. It doesn't work for movies and people keeping up. It doesn't work when you look at the MCU as a whole and know that there are people who have seen all of the movies or the majority of the movies but haven't watched any of the shows, right? And those things are more difficult. Rob, you say not true. Feel free to disagree because that's what we do, but why isn't most comics are meant to be read in their own, not as part of a larger whole? Correct. Which is what I said. If you want the full story,
you gotta
this main line, and you need these other ones. But you can get the heart of the story. Think of it like an RPG. There's all these side quests. You can mainline an RPG and only do the little stuff. That's my point. The crossovers, if you want the full story, it's great for selling additional issues. It does that. That's the point of that. But when you're talking about what these companies want to be able to do with the IP so that the IP exists and can bring them in money, they're looking at what we can do in a movie theater, what we can do with a TV show, in some cases, what they can do with a podcast. And that's why it ends up not working, right? Because
it's in so many places and you got to try to consume it all before.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rob, you're saying not for standard storylines, but it's always the big events that bring in the most money. Yeah. It's the big events that get the people who haven't been reading for a while to come back in. It's the big events that people, oh no, such and such is happening. Oh, they're killing off so and so. Oh, they're rebooting, blah blah blah. They need to do that. They need to do it because it begins to fade off. It begins to become so convoluted that people don't stay with it because they feel like they need so many books. I mean, look, I hear what you're saying, not always, but if you look at how they look at what they do with the properties, this is what they want. And it's what they need to do. Again, it can work in books, but it doesn't work outside of the comic books. And that's what they want to do with it, because every company is looking at where their profit margins sit, and what they see is the need to be multi-channel. They don't see, oh, well, we have these IPs and they're just fine just doing books and just selling them in books and whatever. So they do more. Absolute Batman was a new title, only part of the Absolute event. Right. But then there is still an Absolute event, right?
Right.
And so all the Absolute titles stand on their own, but they all are also part of the Absolute world, are they not? I mean, right?
Yeah, but isn't that the reason why the Ultimate universe is kind of going away? Because it's, as much as those stories are cool and all, it's like you got to figure out how you're going to work that in. Like, I know we've moved some characters and shifted, but the average person, their mind would probably explode in trying to consume all of that at one time, one there.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can go and pick up Ultimate Batman and just read. I mean, you can read Absolute Batman and just read Absolute Batman and be fine with the contained story that is an Absolute Batman. But those characters are tied to one another within what is technically the Absolute universe. And if you want it all, there is no part of the people at the top making decisions at DC that didn't think, well, if people like Absolute Batman, they're going to want Absolute Wonder Woman, and they're going to want to read Absolute Superman, and they're going to want to read, like, that's the whole point, is to pull you into these universes that are shared, that are separate universes from the universe that already exists. So right now, if I go and I talk to people at my job who don't read comics regularly, but have heard about Absolute Batman, and then there's somebody who's listening in on that conversation going, wait a minute, When did Batman start driving a garbage truck? That doesn't make any sense.
Bro, when did Batman get so big? Like, why does this dude look like a damn truck himself?
And the problem with that is that it's an IP that is bigger than just what's in the book. It's bigger than just what's in the, it's grown beyond what that portion of it is. Zayna says, this is why I wait for the larger graphic novels or for someone to explain it in a video essay. I mean, yeah, like, again, if you're in that world, you understand it, you get it, and you can consume it. We're not talking about you, Rob. We're not even talking about the people who shop in your shop regularly. We're talking about the mudbloods. You know, like, we're talking about the normies who like can't make sense of it all in a way. Rob says that has been bringing in people, not splitting audiences and confusing people. It has been, again, Batman can stand on its own. They don't want it to. They want people who pick up Absolute Batman to also pick up Absolute Wonder Woman and to check out, you know what I mean? Saying more new non-comic readers have been coming in than ever before. Again, this is because they recognize the IPs from outside of comics, right? And so you're saying they totally get it, but I don't know if they totally get it. Look, here's the thing. It's not giving the normies more credit. It's what is DC and WB doing to make it so that quote unquote normies come in? Why are they coming in? How did they hear about Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, or Absolute Superman? Where did they find that out? Right? It's because they already know who Batman is. Right? Oh, they're doing something different with Batman. Let me go check it out. Rob's saying not just because of Batman, but Batman is their biggest draw. That, like, there's no two ways about it. They even in what is their great animated, what used to be DC's great animated movies, 90% of the time they put Batman's name on it, even if it's not supposed to be about
a Batman.
Like the Suicide Squad movie, like Attack on Arkham is a Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that is not a Batman.
But without Batman's name on it, nobody picks it up, right? Like, that's their fear, right? Rob says they're adding ads to the end of their other IPs. Sure. You know what I mean? Again, this is the kind of thing that if Disney was to buy DC, I don't think they buy WB. I think that's going too far. They might make a shot for just Harry Potter. I think there's a possibility that J.K. Rowling tries to buy it back for herself from under their, which again could be a completely different disaster. But again, Rob says Superman, Peacemaker, etc. Again, that's James Gunn's doing, and that is him taking characters that are like a Peacemaker, and truthfully, Peacemaker doesn't do what Peacemaker's doing if John Cena's not there making that happen. John Cena is bringing people into that from a completely different world, and that's partially important. Like, we're not going to pretend that Robert Downey Jr. didn't bring people into Iron Man. Like those things exist. You are finding other ways to bring outsiders, to bring normies in, and they have an interest. They are saying, I want to know more. I want to learn more. I want to understand more, which is great. It's good. It's good for them. But for most people, that doesn't shake out. And if it was working that well, they wouldn't be in a position where they need to sell themselves. That's unfortunately where it is. So looking at who could possibly scoop them up, has the money to do it, and then has the money to keep it going, as opposed to just being like, we're going to shelve this, we're going to get rid of this, we're done with this. Those companies are probably Amazon and Disney being best suited to do it. Because Netflix can really only be like, well, we'll do something with the games because we're trying to do games, and then we're going to add everything else to our streaming service. But it makes more sense for Netflix to want to license the IPs from whoever makes the purchase so that they can show the product on their streaming service. They'll make more money doing that than they will if they try to buy it. I heard both was going to make a bid. Did you? I didn't hear that. Again, if Disney does it, I could see them finding a way to make it profitable and to make it work. I do think, especially because part of what they want to do that they've been struggling to do is meet DC in their own space with the darker, heavier PG-13/rated R stuff. And if they own DC, it would help give them the green light to do more of that. Right now, the only green light they have for that was Deadpool. And though Deadpool was rated R, it's still comedy. It's not the heavier, more dramatic / action stuff. And it's not like Disney didn't have that. That's what Buena Vista Video was for a long time. But it's either them or it's Amazon, because Amazon already does print. They do a lot of digital, but they already do print and they already have the streaming. And so those are the two places where I would feel like the IPs are actually the safest. Anybody else who gets their hands on them, I think
that's a gamble.
Anything but ruin them and make them worse. Anybody else would absolutely make it a nightmare for somebody like you, Rob, that owns a comic shop, where, you know, like they would it would be worse than Diamond. It would be like, just because they don't know what they're doing.
Not at all. It's like building up from the ground zero. It's like they'll have people come in to try to be like, hey, we got this major person that worked in the industry for like 30 plus years. But when you're still building something from ground zero up, it's like.
Yeah, but like, even when, like, if you just look at the history of that, like Amazon has done startups for gaming and brought in people that had worked in gaming for years and had run their own stuff and whatever, and then just cancel the game, right? And it doesn't happen, and that person has to move on. So I don't know that they can do that with books. Rob is saying, what DC Comics / IPs need an R+ adaptation?
I don't know if need is the word. Yeah, I don't know if need is the word. It's just that them wanting to try it. Like, I don't think there needs to be an R-rated Wonder Woman. Like, I don't think that needs to be a thing.
Zayna is asking, is Peacemaker not already Amazon? Did I make that up? You definitely made that up.
Yo, you made that up.
It's definitely on HBO.
Max. HBO Max, whatever you want to call it.
Which was HBO, and then was HBO Max, and then was Max, and now it's HBO Max.
HBO Max again. Get y'all crap together.
But yeah, that's where that is. Rob is saying, of the main IPs, he says, since you're saying Amazon would give them the freedom, nah, I'm saying that what I'm saying about Amazon is that Amazon, because Amazon does publishing, both print and digital.
They're already in that wheelhouse.
I'm saying that, yeah, like if they were to buy DC, specifically, leave all the rest of Warner Brothers out of it. If Amazon was to buy DC, them having ownership of that IP, in terms of what the comics world and the book world means, I think it would be a better transition than anybody else, because they already do it. That. Yeah,
distribution, all that, like on a grander scale, like they do that. So
yeah, like, which versus, again, if like Netflix was to make the purchase, or if, you know, that makes somebody like, there you go,
that makes more sense.
Versus, like, again, if some private company like the PIF was to do it, I mean, Rob, all right, you can self-publish there. They do publishing. They sell books. Let's say that. They sell books. So there's a level of understanding that exists with Amazon that doesn't exist with anybody else who would be on the docket for making the purchase, right? Again, unless you're talking specifically about another publisher who does comics already, a Dark Horse or something like that, which maybe they can go in and snatch up some, you know, not necessarily Dark Horse, but like somebody else who could go in and snatch up certain IPs from DC, but I don't think any other company in that space has the kind of money necessary to make the bid or outbid the bigger companies and take control of something like that. So when I'm looking at the grand scheme of who's got the money and who would likely be best handled under, it's Disney and Amazon. Just in terms of the big players and who's got the money, that like if there are multiple companies making offers to WB/Discovery, who's most likely to outbid who? Who's got
Amazon and Disney gonna outbid everybody else?
Well, no, not necessarily.
Or actually, let me rephrase. They can outbid everyone else. Let me rephrase it.
They're at the top of the list, and they're the ones who I think, based on those who could put up the money to do it, would be best suited. There is some Apple, again, with what they do with Apple TV and some of their streaming stuff and like that, they could make a play, but I don't necessarily think that they would be suited for DC specifically. Now, they might be suited for WB as a whole, some of the properties that exist under there, for HBO as a whole, and the properties that exist under there, even for Discovery and the properties that exist there. But, and honestly, maybe even for like the game studios that exist under WB, including NetherRealm. But outside of them, it's like it's Apple, it's Microsoft.
No, I don't even think Microsoft would do it at that point. Like you can't even you can't
would do it, but I'm not saying they
No,
would.
I get what you're saying.
About who's got the money, bro? I'm not even talking about who could do it well. It's Apple, it's Microsoft, it's Amazon, it's Netflix, and it's Disney. And of those major players, Disney, just because they're already in the business with Marvel, and Amazon are your two best bets. Of the two, Disney is the better option. Amazon could probably outbid them because Amazon owns everything. Case in point, literally half the internet across the planet was down yesterday.
Yeah.
Because Amazon Web Services was down.
So
what does that mean? That means Netflix is out, PlayStation is out, Canva was out. Like you almost can't do business.
Nope.
If you're anybody else. That's
terrible.
They got the funds to make it happen. Is it the best idea? No. But
it's the one that makes
in
sense.
all likelihood. Now, there could be some surprise bidders out there. And again, some people, it might make more sense. Like if they're getting the right kind of bids, there might be somebody saying like, look, we'll give you $10 billion just for this. And somebody else is like, we'll give you $15 billion just for this. And somebody else is like, well, we'll give you $75 billion for this and this. And somebody else is like, well, I'll give you $1 billion for this. And it might add up to more money for them if they sell them off individually than if they take one bid from one company that gets it all.
Everything.
But if you had to estimate what DC is worth in that, in the grand scheme of things, if somebody was trying to just get DC, if you have to estimate what DC is worth for them to chop it off and sell it individually to somebody else to take control over, the IPs alone in DC are worth more money than almost everything else they have. And when I say that, specifically, I mean Batman. Batman makes more money for DC than any other property they have. That is just what it is. Superman, probably right behind it, especially off of the strength of the most recent movie. That just makes it strong. And knowing that there's a second movie in the works already, like whoever would be making that bid is making that bid with those things in play, which means that the value of those properties is higher because there is a much higher potential to make money off of it. But they're not going to bid into it more than they think they can make off of it. Mm-hmm. And in order for them to make money off of it, they're going to have to do something different than what has already been done with it, because they're not making money.
If they were, they would fall back into that.
That's the issue. They're not making money in it. So they have misused the IP in ways that have cost them more money. And it has really, really hurt the paper industry in terms of physical books and so forth. So is there more money in it if Amazon does it for them? Yeah, because they would probably shut down almost everything print, which would be a disaster. But for them, there's a lot of money to be made in the ownership they already have with Comixology. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. So it would be a disaster. But there's a likelihood that just the backlash alone at Amazon might be enough to make them be like, we're gonna keep printing. You know, like we're just gonna keep, like they, you know what I mean? Like they might.
Yeah.
Disney, on the other hand, again, has managed to continue to let Marvel print and keep printing and do what they do. So if they got DC, it would be crazy. But crazier things have happened.
I was gonna say, yeah,
because Xbox is definitely selling their games on PlayStation. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I don't even think they'd get rid of the DC branding. Like, I think they would keep that.
Oh, yeah.
I think they keep, you know what I mean? And again, I think it would be really cool for them to be in a position to only have to go to one company to say, I would love to do a one shot and pull these characters into something together. I think would be incredible. You know what I mean? But, you know, we'll have to see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what happens. I don't imagine it's going to take too long for them to get, you know, an offer they really like. But at the same time, if it goes private, then there's the possibility somebody else will sell it off, and they'll sell it off for something cheap. And that won't really do them any good because they've got to offset the debt that they have first. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that they'll be able to do that. Their stock shot up like 10%, like off the strength of the announcement. Just that they were looking to do the split, and possibly that there was somebody that was interested. When Skydance was like, we're interested in buying Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. I don't think Skydance would know what to do with DC. All that. Not the IPs as a whole, but with the comic book side of it. Like, I just don't think they would know what to do. But we'll see. Maybe Hasbro makes a play. Oh. You could, I don't know that I like it, but you could literally see like individual IPs go to other companies. Like somebody might just be like, I'll give you $1 billion for Batman.
Yeah.
You can keep the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then you just don't ever get any of the rest of those characters. And I'm going to be real with you. Like, if you get Batman in just the Batman universe.
Yeah, you kind of good.
But you might not ever see him do anything with it. There's no more Justice League. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of crazy, but it certainly could happen. To me, that's the scariest thing of it. I would much rather see somebody scoop it who can keep all of that stuff
together.
Than have somebody just be like, yeah, you know.
I agree with that.
You know, somebody will make a bid for the wizarding world. For sure. But where it goes, who ends up getting it, super hard to say. Super hard to say. All right, a couple more things before we get out of here. One, Ninja Gaiden 4 dropped technically last night. I've had a chance to put a little bit of time into it, about an hour or so. It's crack. Jokes.
Yeah.
It's Platinum Games crack, bro.
Crack.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not going any further than that. Keeper, the newest game from Double Fine, that also came out yesterday. I played about an hour and a half, 2 hours of it. It is pretty. It's strange. It is probably mostly a walking simulator. Rob said, I think the idea of them selling off the pieces is crazy.
It is, but when that dollar sign
yeah, but
adds
again, like if somebody's like, I give you $1 billion for Batman, I don't want nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do? Like, the possibility of it is very, very real because of the situation that they're in. And if you think about the way that the licensing has happened over the years, again, just looking at Marvel alone, selling off the licensing of Spider-Man to Sony, selling off the licensing of the X-Men and
Fox.
Mutants to Fox, like those things made it so that those companies didn't have any control over what happened in the realm that introduced those characters to the largest number of consumers. You take comic books take that away, right? Rob said, but that was decades ago. You're not wrong.
But they can still do it all over again.
And a company like them did learn some lessons from it. Right? Like they would never do it. They did it, but you got to understand that was decades ago, but they were in the same position. Marvel as a company, when they did those licensing deals, was in the same position that DC with Warner Brothers is in right now. They're in debt and the money's not coming in. So what do you do to save the properties so that you can retain ownership? So Marvel retained ownership over the characters, meaning they could make money off of the movies that were being made, but they held zero rights to the movies themselves and so they couldn't make movies of their own. They still have that issue with Universal and Hulk.
And the Hulk. Yeah,
it was never a Hulk movie. They're still in that position. Even with Disney throwing their money at it, they like, nah, dog. We just gonna hold on to this Hulk IP. You know what I'm saying?
Not even do nothing.
The only reason why we're even talking about the possibility of an X-Men versus Avengers isn't because they got the IP back. It's because they bought the company that the IP
had the IP underneath of.
And that happened because they were in debt and were in trouble. So
because
Rob is saying, right, so why would a company put themselves in that position again?
They're not trying to go out of business.
Because they would do it because if they could retain, if somebody told you you're going to go out of business and Batman will no longer exist anymore, Wonder Woman will no longer exist anymore, these IPs just won't be, you will go out of business and that's that. Versus you going to somebody and saying, look, here's a deal. I'll sell you the rights to make movies or to make TV shows with these beloved characters, right? But I still own the IP. That's how you end up in a situation like that. They have already done wrong by the IPs and with the money to put themselves in a position where that could absolutely happen. So now we're not talking about the likelihood that they would license them out to somebody. We're talking about them selling them outright to remove the debt. And then you just don't have it anymore, right? Now, again, Batman is your biggest cash cow. It's where the majority of the money comes from. Rob says, I guess it doesn't feel as desperate to me as you view it to be, just my opinion. Rob, we're talking about the companies that own DC being so deep in debt that they literally went out today and said, we are selling ourselves. We are receiving unsolicited offers for people to buy us. And we are so far in debt, we will sell ourselves, which means that no matter what, they are selling
say
off.
Yes. They're going to sell yes to they're going to say yes.
Is ready to own these companies. That's how desperate it actually is. It's not like this isn't me just being like, I feel like no. They said it. We're selling ourselves. They already were in a place where they were looking to sell and separate WB and Discovery again to try to sell those individually. WB, since AT&T made the original purchase, AT&T is out now. Since AT&T made the original purchase, they have been trying to sell off WB and DC for the better part of a decade and a half. For like the last 15 years, they've been that far in debt with what they've been doing because they haven't been able to make money with the IP. So that has caused everything to suffer. The books, the movies, like all of it has suffered. And the only thing that has really been saving them in the grand scheme, I'm talking big picture here, is what they've been able to make when they weren't doing but so well with the movie, is Batman. It's the Nolan trilogy of Batman films. It's the Batman. It's those movies have been making enough money to help keep DC in a place where Warner Brothers is keeping them. But it wasn't enough for AT&T to be like, we're selling you to somebody else, which is how HBO and Discovery end up owning DC with Warner Brothers because they had to do it. So it becomes a merger that is necessary for business purposes. And under those circumstances, when you're that company and you're looking to figure out how you're going to save yourselves and get out because you owe a lot of money because you're so far in debt. Now, the debt may not have anything specifically to do with DC. It could be everything that Warner Brothers and Discovery is doing. It is spinning up HBO. It is spinning up HBO Max. It is HBO suffering because people aren't doing regular cable anymore. It is trying to do a streaming service and what that means to pay. Like, they don't own.
Not to mention, they just raise prices.
And they have to, right? But so is everybody else, right? But like, what does it cost you when you think, well, we own all this IP. So since everybody else is doing a streaming service, let's start our own streaming service. Let's take that money and put it into starting a streaming service and hope that we get enough subscribers that we can make money from that. Right. And hopefully that ends up being enough money for us to kind of climb back out. But it didn't work. And so now that they started a streaming service, they are deeper in debt. Then they combine with Discovery. They weren't part of Discovery like last year.
Right.
Then they combine with Discovery. They bring all that additional content in, and that still doesn't work for them getting more people subscribed and getting. So the money's not there. Right. And so they're like, well, we got to sell because we're that far in debt. We can't afford to keep doing this. Right. They got shareholders to answer to, blah, blah, blah. And the minute they hear that somebody else is interested in buying them, the idea is maybe somebody else can help them get it together and it'll be right. And so the stock goes up. When the stock goes up, they say, all right, we'll do a buyout. And they're going to be looking for a cash buyout. Like, there's not people who own it. They're going to be looking for a cash buyout. There's no two ways about it. So I feel like what I'm talking about in terms of the desperation, I'm looking at the big picture. We're not just looking at DC and how DC is doing. Let's just say that the DC portion of things, let's just say it's doing great. Which it isn't. But let's just say it's doing great. Rob said, I appreciate the info. I don't know the facts. Let's just say DC is doing great in the grand scheme of things. But Warner Brothers isn't. Right? And Harry Potter does well for them. That's not DC money. That's overall money for Warner Brothers, right? Outside of that, what else do they own? They own Looney Tunes. That last Space Jam movie didn't do anything. They paid LeBron James all that money and did all that, right? They do a full Batwoman movie. Can it? It's done, it's shot, it's edited. We're not putting it out. Tax write-off. Right? They shoot the entire, what is the Wile E. Coyote movie. They're like, nope,
did the same thing.
They just announced they're going to go ahead and put it out. They've already gotten the taxes for it. Like they're just cutting things for the sake of doing the tax write-offs, right? They're spinning up TV shows. Some people like them, but like it's not enough to move the needle to put enough money on the table for them to keep doing what they're doing. Rob said, LOL, I only watched SJ2 for the Rick and Morty cameo. I mean, right? I mean, think about it. That's all those IPs, all those dollars, all that money. If it's not turning a profit for you, right? And some of it is like just what's happened since COVID with movies and movie theaters and people not going to the theaters. So streaming services spin up. And now the streaming services have spun up.
It's getting out of hand.
You put out this whole new thing. And like, don't get me wrong. I got HBO Max, which was HBO Max, which was HBO. And when it's that bad that you can't even keep the name,
your branding, the consistent on there,
branding is because it's not doing anything for you, right? That's the boat they're in, right? So the company itself that owns the company that we're talking about in terms of DC isn't pulling in enough money and is so far in debt that they'd be willing to sell DC to somebody to get themselves out of debt. But what would be better for them is if they could sell it all and have that erase that debt. More than likely what ends up happening is if they do a full buyout to one company, or even if it's a group, right? Which is like what happened with Electronic Arts. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's technically two different groups, right? It's the Saudis with their PIF and it's Jared Kushner's company and like one other company. Part of what they did was it's a $55 million buyout. $36 billion of $55 billion buyout. 36 billion of it is cash, right? 20 billion of it is just debt. EA, Electronic Arts, who makes Madden and sells millions of copies every year and owns FIFA and sells millions of copies every year and owns The Sims and sells millions of copies every year, had $20 billion of debt. They bought it and they took on that debt. They keep the CEO in place and he gets a payout. The money jumps up for all the stockholders. The stock jumps up to like $210, which originally was only worth like $170. So everybody who owns is getting a payout. So they all make money on it. And then the company goes private. And more than likely what happens with that company is they sell off the assets. Maybe they keep just Madden, but more than likely they try to sell it to somebody. And they just get rid of everything else. It's literally what happened to Red Lobster. It's the same thing. They buy it up, they take on the debt, and then what happens is when they sign it, the debt still technically, even it's really weird, but the debt still belongs to Red Lobster. The debt for like the places where the restaurants sit themselves, and then they let it run itself into the ground, and then they get the write-off for it. And so, and they don't care that it runs itself into the ground because that's the point. It's a whole thing. Hopefully that won't be what happens with this, and it'll be a public company, and it'll continue to have stock, and the stock will go up, and that puts money back into the system, and that allows whoever does purchase it to make some changes and adjustments. But anytime you have something like that happen, you're always going to have redundancies, meaning that if a company like Disney buys Warner Brothers, Disney already has executives in place that make decisions about what movies they make and what they do, whatever. So that means people get fired, right? Or they get severance, or they do layoffs, and they shut down certain production pieces and production companies and things like that, right? And like DC just happens to be in that realm because they're owned by a large corporation that didn't know what to do with them and didn't understand how to make profit. And it made sense when they bought them because they're like, we're WB. You got Batman? Guess what we're going to do? We're going to make a Michael Keaton Batman movie. And that's how long DC and Warner Brothers have been in.
Yeah.
And they made a ton of money on movies that we think are trash. But that's what's been holding them afloat. So, yeah, man. I mean, look, I'm hopeful because I want to see the IPs do well. I'm just coming from a space where I'm like, yo, Disney might be the best bet, which would be crazy. But again, Xbox is selling their games on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there are PlayStation games on Xbox now. It's like it just
It
it
is what
is
it
what
is.
it is.
It's the landscape
Yeah.
of the business now.
Yep. Jokes, what are your thoughts on this new Pokemon game? You've been playing Pokemon ZA?
Pokemon Legends ZA. Um, it's pretty smooth. If you haven't played a Pokemon game in a good while, it's a good overhaul to one like the combat system and the way things play. So, um,
Ooh, I keep doing
it's
that.
it's a good fresh way to get the ball rolling on or keep the ball rolling in the Pokemon franchise. Um, Without getting too deep, there's some connections to other stories that'll be in there that's involved with it that you'll get to. But overall, it plays well. I'm enjoying it. Um, I'm probably maybe about 70% of the way probably through the main story. Um,
Okay.
but so
70%?
probably so, because at one point, just the reason why the game is called ZA, just to make it a little easier. You rank up, you start at level Z, the highest level you can get is A. So right now I'm at F, and there's a reason, I'm not going to spoil it, there's a reason, an easy way how you get to that level pretty quickly. Um, but in doing so, it seems like I've kind of already have gotten through the main part of the
The
story.
main.
I'm
Okay.
getting close to it on there for it.
Are there like side quests or are you just like mainlining it?
Nope. There's
And
plenty of side quests. I'm doing side quests as I'm going through and completing the main. Because just like in any other Pokemon game, you have to level your Pokemon up as you go through. So if you just do main quests, you'll be under leveled. Just if you played any RPG, you don't want to go in under level. So you want to go do these side quests so you can level up
yeah.
your Pokemon as you go through. That kind of thing is still the same within the game. But so
Hey, dog, I have a
far,
question for you. And this might
mhm,
sound dumb. It's not though, but it might sound dumb because I don't play Pokemon.
mhm.
I noticed one of the big things with Rob is asking, do Pokemon games have an end game?
Not really. Because after you finish the story, like nowadays, not really because they add additional DLC. Like
Okay.
old days, like when original Red and Blue came out. Once you've beaten all the gyms, if you've collected all the Pokemon, like there really was nothing else for you to go back and do. Now you got additional DLC. You can play online versus people, and it has its own ranking system that you can go through. So you're always playing, trying to be the best. It's seasonal, so they're technically the story will have a pseudo in game until DLC comes out. But as they release that just expands on the story more. So no.
All right. So here's what I want to know. I know that one of the big deals about this is like the real time battles, right? That like you get into battles as you're actually running around in like the open world portion of it. Would you consider it open world? Is it does it feel like it's
No.
just an open
By all
world?
means, it's not open world. The whole entire game
It's
is
like
based
open
in
area.
it's one city. The city is gigantic, but it's not like you can go out of the city. So everything is confined to the city.
But it's still open world though, then, right? Like it's still like
You
the
can go
city is
any
open.
place in the city. Yeah, you can go any place in the city,
Right.
but you're just limited by the confines of the city.
Okay. When you're in a real time battle,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do the Pokemon attack you, or do
They
they
attack the
attack?
Pokemon and they attack you too.
All right. So can you die?
You can't. So because it's
Because
Pokemon,
that's not it. Because I don't
you
right. Because that's never been a thing,
the
right? Like
thing, yeah,
normally you
you
have the
black
battle.
out. You black out. So which is like you like pass it. Yeah, is what
All
they
right.
do on it. So like when
Because
you
it's
played,
always been like you get into a battle and it's like you throw your Pokemon out and they throw their Pokemon out and your
yeah,
Pokemon fight. And when the fight is over, your Pokemon gets beat up and you just go back and you
and you just go back.
right.
Nah,
But
the
because it's
Pokemon will
real
come after
time,
you. Um, I'll tell you this: when you go after like there's like boss, I guess you could say boss level Pokemon that you'll fight. Listen, some of them do not give a damn about what Pokemon they throw out. They know if they take you out, it's a wrap.
See,
And
that's
they
what I'm
will
talking
come
about.
and they
See,
will
that's what
come
I'm talking
after
about. See, now I might could get with Pokemon. Cause that's how I feel. Like,
and you gotta move. Like, and listen, there's like, yo, you got role mechanics and stuff in here. Like if you were playing um
oh yeah, you
like
got
a
tuck and roll.
Souls type thing. So you gotta be on the move. While you telling your Pokemon to attack whoever it is
You
you
gotta get out of the
fighting,
way.
you gotta be out the way. Because if they shoot off whatever
But you
moves that
can't
they're doing,
but you can't attack like as the trainers
no,
can't attack.
no, you can't attack. No,
So
the
all
trainer
you can do
cannot
is
attack.
run and tell your Pokemon to defend you and fight something else.
Yep.
Bro, hold on. So look, Rob said, nice. So the PvP is like the end game.
PvP, I would say,
Kind
is pretty much where you get to the end game on there.
Okay. And Rob is saying, Gage, I appreciate these questions. I ask the same ones. LOL. Listen, that's always been kind of crazy to me.
Mhm.
That like you're Pokemon slave masters. You basically just have a joint, train, you throw it out there, y'all fight each other. It's dog fighting. Like for real, it is. It's like Pokemon trainers are Michael Vick. I don't want to hear it. Y'all should all go to jail. Say I'm wrong. Say I'm wrong.
I'm not. I'm
Say I'm
not.
wrong.
Nope. Nope.
Okay. All right.
I'm not.
So the fact that was a thing though for me when they started saying like there's real-time battles. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're no longer walking around and then like you get into a random encounter with a creature you can't see, and then it's like, oh, it's a Pokemon, I gotta throw my Pokemon out, they fight each other, and if my Pokemon loses, the battle's over and I just dip. This is like, nah, we out here in the streets. And so you have your trainer has an HP meter.
That's just it. So you don't have your trainer doesn't have their own HP bar. So as you take damage, yeah, you don't have an HP bar cell, but you'll see like the border of the screen will start to get like it's almost like bloody red. Like so as you see this, you know it's like, oh, let me step back
I'm starting to get whooped.
before I
I'm
take the
saying
L.
Power
Yeah,
World is the
power.
ones
Yeah.
that shoot the creatures. Hey, listen, Power World, the creatures can get guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Power World is
Yeah.
totally different. They just did a big update for that joint too. That's interesting. I think it is definitely an interesting twist because I feel like they've always, like Pokemon Company and Nintendo, have always taken specific care to like quote unquote take care of the trainers and treat the trainers like, well, they're not actually fighting. And in this case, they're not actually fighting. But the Pokemon can attack them directly. Yeah, that's a plot twist. It is. That's a plot twist. And I'm here for it because that's different. So you get knocked out, and then what happens? You wake up at the nursing
at a
station.
Pokemon center, and like the nurse Joy at the center is like, hey, listen, you can't take damage, and if you keep coming back here and I have to heal you, like you're not going to become ZA champion, will be the way
There's
to
no
say
real
it.
repercussions for it.
There's not really like the game doesn't end. There's not like a permadeath mode. Now if they added something like that into this,
nah, that'd be crazy. That's going too far. All right, so look. This weekend, Sunday, 12 to 4, LotCon at Comic Logic in Virginia. Also, like a trunk or treat. We will be there. I'll be there. Jokes, you gonna be there? Okay, I'll be there. It's gonna be a good time. It always is. Tons of vendors, lots of people to see. Come out, support local authors, artists, sometimes even tattoo artists, and the shop itself. It's always a great time. They do this a couple times a year. I imagine that there's a costume contest. There usually is. And that we'll be jumping in with that. Rob maybe can kind of fill us in on that since he's in the chat. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Will be a really good time. It is one of our favorite events that we get the chance to do. Rob says, "Thank you, fellas. Look forward to seeing you, Gage." Indeed. You and the entire Comic Logic family for sure. All right, Jokes, you got anything else? What's happening in wrestling? Do we care?
I
don't.
Right now,
but you
nothing
might.
too crazy. Like AEW just had Wrestle Dream that just passed. That was probably like their
That's a dumb name. I
third
don't like that.
biggest show of the. It had a meaning to it when they originally did it. It had a good meaning to it because it was dedicated to Inoki, famous professional wrestler from Japan. So it had a meaning behind it. But now it kind of, they just use the name, and I don't think it holds the same weight the same way. Outside of that, that's pretty much been it. We do know, obviously, WWE has shifted gears, and things now are streaming on ESPN. And already it looks like ESPN is bleeding money because things have not turned out the way that things are supposed to. So that's probably, listen, I know you love the business aspects of it, and this is a conversation you may want to be a part of because apparently they say they only added 100,000 new subscribers based off of the WWE edition, which in their money term is literally nothing. So that's probably been the biggest.
And it depends on whether or not they did the full Disney Plus or they just did ESPN, because the full Disney Plus is like $30, right? And $30 times 100,000 is what they spent to get the contract. Anyway,
hey, listen, Stephanie told everybody to just use a VPN, and I think they're following.
She did, which was crazy. Rob said, "Contest, yeah, sure. You're a judge. Congrats, thanks, Rob." That's not uncommon. That's cool. Yeah. So I guess we can talk about it if you want to this week. I'd be more than happy to dig into the business of ESPN, which is Disney again. Yep. and you know what that means. I'm totally down. Even though I don't really care about wrestling. I'm in it for the business. Outside of that, one more time, the reminder, movie of the month is Corpse Bride. That discussion will go live on next Monday at 8. So we'll, post an update to remind people that it's going live that day, but look for that. We actually have some new content that we're looking to put together. Hopefully we'll be able to do some recording for that this weekend. It is not something that is slated for right away. It will be something that won't hit until November, but it's probably not going to hit until like mid-November. We have a lot that's happening between now and then. Again, LockCon this week, and then we have Extra Life in a couple weeks, and then the week after that we have StellarCon, and then a month after that we have Ocean City. So still lots coming, still a lot happening. We're staying very busy. And now's the time where I tell you all how much I appreciate you being here tonight, hanging out with us. I know it's been a long show. It's super late. We were having a good conversation, though, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
I want to give a shout out to all the lurkers, everybody who's there, who's watching, but isn't commenting or what have you. We appreciate you just as much. Thank you also for being here. Jokes, please tell the people what I need them to know.
Remember, y'all, just because you have a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea.
With that, we're out. Toodles and Lose.
Loading snacks.